All right, here's our week 12 review. Should be pretty quick. The biggest thing you need to know for this test is vocabulary. If you know all that stuff, I think for the most part you're going to be okay. So vertex, remember that's our turning point up here. Sorry, up here. So my vertex here is going to be 3, 4. If I could count, that would help. Axis of symmetry, x equals 3. That's our line that goes to the middle. Domain, all real numbers. The y-intercepts, we're crossing the y-axis, which is down here at -5, so that's going to be 0, -5. Range, we can get that from the vertex, remember? This opens down, so it's going to be y is less than or equal to 4. And then roots are in the x-axis, and there should be 2 of them here, so my roots are going to be, let's see, 1, 0, and 5, 0. All right, questions 2 through, so I think it's just 2 and 3, ask us to sketch the graph of each function. This is in standard forms. Remember, we found a few different things today. The first thing that's easy to find is the y-intercept, and that's this number, this value that's by itself. So my y-intercept is going to be 0, 10. Then we found the axis of symmetry, -b over 2a. A, remember, is this number in the very front. B is the number with the x. So -b over 2a gives me +8, because b is already a negative value. And then over 2 times 2, that's 8 over 4. So my axis of symmetry is x equals 2. Vertex, I use that value to plug in. So 2 times 2 squared minus 8 times 2 plus 10. Let's see, and if we work that out correctly, we should get 2, which is going to make my vertex 2 from the x value and 2 because of what we got when we plugged in. And then domain and range. Domain is always all real numbers. Range, it looks like this is opening up, so that's going to be y is greater than or equal to. I know the up because if you look at this very front number here, it's positive, so that's up. Y is greater than or equal to, let's see, 2, because that's the y value from my vertex. All right, that's coming from this y value right here. So when I go to graph that, I'll graph my y-intercept. I'm just going to go in the order that I found my information. Axis of symmetry is at 2. Vertex is at 2, 2. I know it opens up, so I'm going to go ahead and draw the left side, and then I just need to mirror the right side. So since this is 2 spaces over, if I go 2 to the other side, that will land me right there so that it looks symmetrical. All right, let's look at question 3. If we do, so same kind of order, y-intercept comes first. That's the number at the end, so that's 0, 1. Let's see, axis of symmetry comes next. Just trying to remember. -b over 2a, so -4 over 2 times 1. Remember, there's just a 1 there in the front if you don't see anything. That gives me -4 divided by 2 is -2, so x equals -2. Vertex, I'm going to plug -2 in. Remember to use parentheses. Plus 4 times -2 plus 1, which gives me -3. So my vertex is going to be -2, -3. Let's see, domain, all real numbers. Range, this is opening up, so that's going to be y is greater than or equal to the y value from the vertex, which is -3. So now if I go to graph, I'm going to have 0, 1 is my y-intercept. X equals -2 is my axis of symmetry. -2, -3. And this is opening up, so I'm going to connect to open up. And then my mirror is going to be on this other side so that it's symmetrical. Opens up there. Remember, I know it's symmetrical because this is 2 spaces away, so 2 spaces away. Okay, for questions 4 and 5, the directions I think are actually written backwards of how you would probably work this problem. So I'm actually going to do part C first, because I think you all are going to look at this and say vertex, axis of symmetry, and all that stuff right away. So vertex, remember, inside's the opposite, outside's the same, so that's -4, -3. Axis of symmetry we just get from the x part of the vertex, so that's x equals -4. Let's see, vertex axis of symmetry. Domain is going to be all real numbers. I already know that, duh. Range, this is going to open up. It's positive, so that's going to be y is greater than or equal to -3. Remember, I'm getting that from the y part of the vertex. And then we need to graph. So we'll do part B next, and that's just to graph all of this information. So that is -4, -3. And then x equals -4 is my axis of symmetry line. And I know this is opening up, and this question doesn't ask us to find the y-intercept, and I'm pretty sure even if it did, it wouldn't fit on here, so I'm just going to make this open up. The shifts or the transformations that you have to talk about, so this part I'm not sure I really went over super well today. When we talk about transformations, that's where you use words like shift left, shift right, shift up, shift down. So this right here is going to shift, let's see, we're going to shift left, which you can see just looking at the picture, right? Instead of starting at 0, we've like shifted to the left. This is also going to be shifting, so it's shifting left 4. It's also going to shift down 3. And then the last part, just in case you're watching this, I just want you to see, remember this first number is like a slope, and since that's a whole number, it's going to make it a steeper graph. So you may want to put a little star here if you're just taking notes that this is steeper than normal. That will not be part of your test tomorrow. I just wanted to say that to you in case you see it later on. All right, question 5. So we'll do the same thing. We'll do vertex first. So vertex is 4, -3. Inside's opposite, outside's the same. Axis of symmetry comes from the x part of the vertex, so x equals 4. What are my other things? Domain, all real numbers. Range, y is less than or equal to this time because it's opening down, and it's less than or equal to -3, not because of the -3 at the beginning, but because of this -3 from the vertex. So if I plot those things, 4, -3, axis of symmetry is at 4, and then this is opening down, so I'm just going to kind of make this open down. We'll talk about how to make that look a little bit better next week. And then the last thing is, again, those transformations. So when I name the transformations, we're going to say, and you can tell this part just from looking at the equation, but now we're going to say we've moved right 4, down 3. Remember, because normally you start at 0, 0. And then this, again, is going to be steeper because the slope, quote unquote, is a whole number. All right, let's look at the next 2 questions. All right, so questions 6 and 7. This is just kind of asking, giving you practice doing 2 things at one time. One is just graphing from this vertex form, and the only thing we're going to add on these is the y-intercept. That's what we didn't do on questions 4 and 5. It'll be very, very clear tomorrow which parts you need to do and which parts you don't. So this first part I'm going to do using this shortcut. So vertex is going to be -4, -4. Inside's opposite, outside's the same. Axis of symmetry, x equals -4 from the x part of the vertex. Domain is all real numbers. Range, y is greater than or equal to because it's opening up. -4, I get that number from the vertex, the y part of the vertex. And then remember, we have a shortcut to find the y-intercept, and that is really to read the equation without the x value, because normally the y-intercept's the number without any variables anyway. So really we're just going to do 2 times 4 squared minus 4, which should give us 28. So I'm going to get 0, 28 here for my y-intercept, which is not super helpful because we can't really fit all that on the graph. So -4, -4. Axis of symmetry. I have a y-intercept way up there at 28, which should really probably be at the top of your paper. And so then I'm just going to make this super steep looking graph. All right, remember to practice standard form is when we have to multiply all of that out. So standard form is when we're going to rewrite and do this x plus 4 times x plus 4. Remember, you have to distribute the x squared plus 4x, and the 4 plus 4x plus 16. And then we have to bring down our front number, which was a 2, and this minus 4 at the end. You can combine like terms at this point or distribute and then just do that all in one step at the end. I tend to distribute and then do that step at the end altogether. So that's going to give me 2x squared plus 8x plus 8x plus 32 minus 4. And then we'll just combine our like terms here. So standard form is going to be y equals 2x squared plus 16x plus 28. And that should confirm your shortcut method that you're still getting 28 as the y-intercept. All right, question 7. I'll start in the same place. So we're going to list all the easy information first. Vertex is 1, negative 1. Axis of symmetry, x equals 1 from the vertex. Domain is all real numbers. Range, y is less than or equal to because it opens down, negative 1 from the vertex. And then I can find my y-intercept using my shortcut method, which is to do negative 2 times negative 1 squared minus 1, which gives me negative 3. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 3. So finally, I actually have one I can graph. 1, negative 1, axis of symmetry down the middle, 0, negative 3, and so I can actually make a mirroring point on the other side and get my parabola that way. And then we're going to actually work out standard form just so that we have an example. You will have to do that on your test tomorrow for specific questions, but if it doesn't ask, you don't have to do it. All right, so let me write this correctly. We're going to do x minus 1 squared, which is x minus 1 times x minus 1. Distribute x squared minus 1x plus 1. Bring down my extra numbers, so that's a negative 2 in the front, minus 1 at the back. Negative 2x squared plus 2x minus 2, and then minus 1. And then our last step is to combine like terms. So standard form is going to be for this equation, y equals negative 2x squared plus 4x minus 3. And again, that confirms that my shortcut was correct. All right, and since we're already here, I'm going to do both of these questions together, and then I'll do the odds. We're writing an equation, so remember, you just have to think about what they give you and what makes the most sense. So this gives you a vertex, so we need to probably do vertex form. And so I'm going to do y equals, it opens down, so whatever number you put here in the front needs to be a negative number. X inside's the opposite, so x minus 2 squared, and then plus 9 at the end. So make sure in your work that you have some negative number written in that blank right there. Any negative number will do. All right, question 10. This time they give me a y-intercept, and the y-intercept should tell you to do standard form, which is the ax squared plus bx plus c. So when I write these, I'm going to do y equals slope of 5, 5x squared. What you can put anything you want to in the middle here, and then you need to have plus 2 at the end. So this middle number could be, minus 700x. Like, it makes no difference what you put in there. And the parts that you have to have, though, are the 5 in the front. You must have an x squared. Don't forget your exponent on any of these. And then you need to have a plus 2 at the end. So as long as you have those pieces, you're going to have the correct answer, or a correct answer. All right, 19, remember, axis of symmetry is more closely related to the vertex. So this is easiest in vertex form. So if the axis of symmetry is x equals 3, that means the vertex is 3 comma something. So if I go to write my equation, that means I'm going to write y equals, the first number doesn't matter. It could be anything you want it to be. X, it could be even positive or negative because this doesn't say anything about how it opens. X minus 3, because inside's the opposite, squared. And then you can put any number out here that you want to at the end. The only part that you have to have is this minus 3 squared. So we could put 12 in the front and minus 429 at the end. Right, all that, any of that works as long as it says negative 3 in the front. Last one, again, vertex means vertex form. And then opens down. So I'm going to say y equals negative something, x minus 1, inside's the opposite, squared, plus 0. Now, you have to write this minus 1. You have to have the negative sign. You obviously have to have the squared. You don't necessarily have to write plus 0, but you cannot write any other number out there. And then you could put any number that you wanted to in this front spot. So you could have negative, I don't know, 7.24 right there, and that would work just fine, as long as whatever number you put there is negative so that it opens down. If you need help on any of these, you need to come to tutoring in the morning. We will not spend a lot of time at the beginning of class going over how to do any of this stuff. Let me know if you need help.